Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the MMR Podcast. I am your host, Mac from Mac Movie Reviews. Got another episode, another fresh content for all you lovely units. So today, on today's show, we're gonna get into some film news. I'm gonna go over my quarantine watch list. Today's topic, we're gonna do some. We're gonna talk about some book adaptation films, films based on books. If that the title wasn't already, a dead giveaway itself. Then we're going to be answering some questions and introduce a new segment, which I like to call Content Creator Spotlight or Creator Spotlight. So more on that near the end of the podcast. But without further ado, let's get into the news, shall we? So starting off with the film news today, I guess we should probably start off with the fact that we start off with the fact that we originally thought Tenet was going to be the first movie back in theaters on July 17th with its release date because Warner Brothers have said that they are dead set on releasing it in theaters for part of the theaters reopening and such. But we were wrong, actually. Actually, it will go to a film called Unhinged starring Russell Crowe. That will be the first movie back in theaters if the everything goes according to plan and chains are going to reopen in July. Unhinged, which is a thriller film, is going to be the first movie back that people will see, and it's a stars Russell Crowe. And the plot is a psychological thriller that takes something we've all experienced, road rage, to an unpredictable and terrifying conclusion. Rachel Karen Pistorius is running late getting to work when she crosses paths with a stranger, Crow, at a traffic light. Soon Rachel finds herself and everyone she loves the target of a man who feels invisible and is looking to make one last mark upon the world by teaching her a series of deadly lessons. What follows is a dangerous game of cat and mouse that proves you never know who you're driving next to. It was originally supposed to be released September 4th, 2020. It's being directed by Derek Borty, and they moved it to July 1st. So maybe this will be a good film to come back to the cinemas. So, I'm more excited for Tenet. This seems kind of like a straight to DVD film, but I guess if you have a big star like Russell Crowe, you can't really have it straight to DVD. So that won't happen. So Unhinged, let's see what happens. Let's see where that goes. Other news is that Black Widow is getting an earlier release date in the UK. Worldwide, it's supposed to come out November 6th, 2020, because it was pushed back. It was supposed to be released last weekend, May 3rd. Let me see the calendar here. It's supposed to be released the weekend of May 8th, that weekend. But, the whole pandemic, it got pushed back. So it decided that instead of Disney said they're not going to put this on Disney Plus, they want to release this in theaters. So it got pushed back to November 6th, 2020. But the UK, they're going to get an earlier release date, October 28th, 2020. So all you UK users, mark your calendars down for October 28th. Also, and another news is that Marvel and Batman, the Robert Pattinson Batman film directed by Matt Reeves, they are free. They are actually available, or what's the word? They're able to continue their filming, like in-person filming with restrictions in the UK because the UK is starting to ease down their lockdown restrictions slowly. So there could be a chance where we can get some filming back for the Batman and a lot of the Marvel movies. So we'll see what that looks like. Other news I got is that Hamilton, all you play theater fans, Hamilton movie that Disney they're recording, like the stage version of Hamilton. It's going to start streaming on Disney Plus on July 3rd. So mark your calendars for Hamilton on July 3rd. Also, we got Josh Trank's new movie Capone, starring Tom Hardy as Al Capone, was released yesterday on May 12th, and it's not doing good. It really isn't. So if you're not familiar, Josh Trank, he directed Chronicle in 2012. It was a really really good movie. Then he got stuck with Fantastic Four. You know that story. Then he kind of just, it's just been a cycle of just like his name being attached to the Fantastic Four that he'll never live down. Luckily, he's kind of like accepted it that like, yeah, I made this crappy movie. So now he made Capone, and I remember this was supposed to be called Fonzo. And the plot of Capone is chronicling 10 years into Alfonso Capone's prison sentence. The 47-year-old American gangster. In prison, he begins suffering from dementia and becomes haunted with memories from his violent past. So it's kind of like a character piece movie, kind of like seeing how this once feared gangster is kind of like this broken down old man who's slowly dying. So, and the critics have been tearing this movie apart. People are like, this is just, I don't want to see Tom Hardy crap and vomit all over the place. And it's sitting at a 5.4 out of 10 on IMDb, and its Metacritic score is 47. This is, it's not good. The first review I see, it says, "Can Tom Hardy just finish season 2 of Taboo already? This is a waste of his time and talent." So, I'm best of luck to Josh Trank. If you're somehow listening to this, you're more than welcome to come on the podcast and we can talk. But it gets a bad rap. It just sucks. Other news we got is that Rob Liefeld, creator of Deadpool, the Deadpool character in Marvel Comics, he said that Kevin Feige and Marvel and Disney, they're the ones who said he's kind of blaming them for not having Deadpool 3. And this is kind of what I worried about when Disney bought Fox. Like, people were scared that like a lot of the properties that were already established, that Disney was just gonna be like, yeah, so that doesn't really fit our image, so we're just gonna take that out. And I figured Deadpool was one of them. Like, come on, Marvel has this set. MCU is made to sell toys. Is bringing in every demographic, but mostly it's the kids that like just get the money in for the movie. So you can't bring in. I knew they weren't gonna bring in a rated R superhero like that. Although you could, it's stupid, but like they could like try to make it PG-13, but it just would ruin the whole point. And I don't know. It's just, you would either have to Marvel would just have to just say, you know what, we're just gonna either scrap Deadpool from the MCU and not do it at all, or figure out a way to just go ahead and just do a rated R MCU film and just get it over with. So, who knows if we're going to get Deadpool 3. That's it for the news. Like I said, if you have any news for me, you can send it over to Mac Movie Reviews on Instagram, and I will shout you out for sending me the news, and I will report it. And right now, let's get into the quarantine watch list. Okay, so for my quarantine watch list, recently what I've been watching, it's been a lot of you can really call this a mixture. My most recent watch would definitely have to be The Death of Stalin on Netflix, which is a black comedy satire film on the death of Stalin, starring Steve Buscemi. Highly recommend you watch that film. It's very funny. It's a lot of dry comedy, and I am a history buff, so it's kind of like suits my needs. But when the comedy lands, it lands, trust me. And I recently reviewed it, and like it was funny. It's just like, go check out my review on Mac Movie Reviews on Instagram, and I give my full thoughts on it. It's more detailed. I've also other things I've watched. I've watched New Jack City, 1991 film with Wesley Snipes. Pretty good film. It throws back to the days of the 70s blaxploitation films. Another film I watched was Juice, the Tupac Shakur film, and Omar Epps, directed by Ernest Dickerson. Another good film. I have also watched Menace to Society. Pretty good. Cloverfield, which is very controversial because you either love or hate that film. I like that film because I don't know. Something with Cloverfield is like the first one, it'll always remain special to me just because it feels like J.J. Abrams actually wanted to tell like a story with a genre with found footage, and like it was good. And like a found footage monster movie like this at the time, it was just good, and then the marketing was grade A. So every time I see Cloverfield, I'll watch it. Other movie I've watched was Training Day, the Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke movie. That's always a classic. I've also watched a lot of another film I watched is an older movie actually. I rewatched a German movie called The Bridge. If you follow me on Instagram, I reviewed this a couple months back. It tells the like story of these German teenagers back in the waning days of World War II when the Nazis were losing the war. So they left. They were these teenagers who were like highly loyal to the Third Reich. They were sent to defend this bridge to keep the Allies from crossing it and make sure that all the the German forces can cross back into the town. And it's just like it's black and white, but it's a very emotional film, and it was really really good. And I rewatched Catwoman with Halle Berry. It's still terrible after all these years. I don't know why. Like, I have no idea why. Like, I decided to watch it. Maybe because Chris Stuckman did a hilarity of it, and I just something clicked in my mind and said like, you need to go back and watch this film. So that's what I watched. And I said a lot. And the last thing I watched was that since that they announced that Nicolas Cage was playing Joe Exotic in the Tiger King TV series, I had to go back and watch The Wicker Man, and I was entertained throughout. There might be a podcast when I have to just do a Wicker Man review because that movie is just, there's just no words to explain of what the hell is going on. And the best parts that you can just show is the beast scene. Oh my god, oh my god, or Nicolas Cage in a bear suit and he just punches a woman in the face. or he asks the female lead, he's like, this thing in his hand, how to get burned. He's like, how to get burned, how to get burned. Oh my gosh, that movie I might have to go back and talk about. So I don't know, maybe Wicker Man will be a future topic. So that's my quarantine watch list, but I'm curious, what have you watched? Leave them down in the comments below. Let's get into the topic, shall we?
Citizens of the Oasis, like many of you, I only came here to escape. But I found something much bigger than just myself. Are you willing to fight? Might as well jump!
This is war. Find it.
Welcome to the rebellion.
Ready Player One. Experience it in IMAX, March 30th.
The topic today is book adaptation films. So it's pretty much films that are based on a pre-existing work of literature. So I've been debating on how I wanted to tackle this subject. Did I want to just straight up do a straight up conversation about it, or just kind of just break it up into different sections? So what I'll do is that I'm going to break it up into 3 sections. Book adaptation films. How I'm going to do it is that I'm going to break it up into 3 tiers. The first tier I want to talk about is the S tier. Book adaptation films that I personally enjoyed, that I think are pretty much faithful to the books that I've read, or based on the people I've asked that they've read the source material that they think is good, that go along with the movies. The second tier is going to go along with the B tier. B tier is going to be that the book is good, but the movie itself, it's in the middle. It's not bad and it's not good, but it's okay. But they still take inspirations from the book and they're still relatively faithful for it. And then the last tier we're going to talk about would be just the straight up F tier. The F tier would be just all around that the book is good and the movie itself is just garbage, and they had no idea what it's nothing like the book. So let's just get started with the S tier. So starting off with the S tier, I guess I should probably mention my favorite film of all time, Fight Club. That's based on a book written by Chuck Palahniuk. and it's, of course, Fight Club's directed by David Fincher. It stars, Edward Norton and Brad Pitt, and I love Fight Club, and I read the book for it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's relatively faithful to the source material. They do change they do change some of it. For instance, they do change the ending of it, and they do change the name of the main character. Like, for example, in the book, Edward Norton's character's name is Jack instead of the narrator his name in the film is the narrator, but in the book his name is Jack. So it's nothing big, but it's just kind of like, well, it's nothing really it's nothing really to like frown your head upon, but I do like it. It does cut a lot out, but even if Fincher does take a lot of liberties when he made the film, he did do a good job with kind of paying homage to some of the aspects on what made the book pretty good. And there's even a sequel book, and it was pretty good. So, or a novel, because it was more of a comic book than a book as the first one. So Fight Club is definitely in the S tier. The next two book series I would have to say would be I would kind of say put these in series would be The Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. It's hard to kind of put specific movies into the S tier for both these series because I've read one book each from both these series, being the first book from each of them, and I've seen all of the Harry Potter movies and Lord of the Rings movies at least once, and I thoroughly enjoyed all of them. My favorite Harry Potter movies being Prisoner of Azkaban, and my favorite Lord of the Rings movie being the first one. And I will safely say that they're pretty faithful to the book. Although, J.K. Rowling with the Harry Potter series, she does have a reputation for retconning a lot of her source material, but we're not going to talk about that. But they did do a good job bringing the wizarding world of Hogwarts to life in the big screen. They did do a good job with the whole Lord of the Rings, and I forgot what the Middle Earth. They did do a good job, and the Hobbit series, they did a great job of that. So I guess you can throw Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter's in the S tier as well. Another another film you can throw into the S tier is Gone Girl, which is another David Fincher directed film, and it's based on a book written by, I believe, Gillian Flynn, if I'm not mistaken. It's a thriller movie, and it's with Ben Affleck, and I forgot I'm blanking on the woman's name who starred in that movie. It's gonna bug me until I'm probably gonna Rosamund Pike. Rosamund Pike and Ben Affleck, they were the two leads in that movie, and it was a really good movie. I didn't read the book, but from what I could tell is that people said it was very faithful to it, and the movie itself was very good. It did win some Academy Awards, so it does belong in the S tier. Throw that in the S tier. Little known fact is that we can also throw Jaws, the 1975 classic summer blockbuster, which started summer blockbuster films, into the S tier. What else is there to say about Jaws? It's pretty much made people afraid to go in the ocean. It made people scared of sharks. Spielberg took a pre-existing book about Jaws and he made it a film. Like, not that many people know that Jaws is based on the book. I didn't know that until I got to high school and I did a book report and I saw that Jaws was a book. I was like, what? I never knew that. I read it. I was like, it's pretty good. Then The Birds, that's another one you can throw into the S tier. It was by Hitchcock. Took a already pre-existing novella written by Daphne, if I can look her name up, The Birds book. Oh, Daphne du Maurier. She published it in 1952. I didn't read the book, but I have heard that it is pretty faithful to what Hitchcock showed on screen. So that's another one you can throw in the S tier. Let me see. The Color Purple, definitely one you can throw in the S tier. Let's see. There's so many. It's just hard because there's so many movies that actually are good. You can make an argument for it to go into the S tier and such. And I guess I'll throw one more in before we move into the B tier, just to keep it quick and concise. The Shining, or we can say all Stephen King's books, Well, actually, not all of it, because let's just say a selection of his films that are a selection of his books that have been translated to the big screen. Example: Misery, Shawshank Redemption, It, Chapter 1 specifically, the one in 2017. The Mist was a good one. Gerald's Game, that was released in 2017, directed by Mike Flanagan. That was a good one. But he's had a lot of stinkers that like The Dark Tower, Cell, but a lot of Stephen King's adaptations, they can belong in the S tier. Specifically, Misery, Shawshank Redemption, the 1976 Carrie, It Chapter 1 in 2017. Then we can throw in Shawshank Redemption and everything. And The Green Mile too. So that's it for the S tier. And I guess we can move on to the B tier, which I said it's just okay films that come from, book that they're okay, but they still at least pay homage to the books. So my first pick for the B tier, it would definitely have to be Diver and Wimpy Kid. All 4 movies. Or actually, no, the first 3 movies, because I want to put the 4th movie in the F tier when we get to it. So hold off on the 4th movie. So the first 3 movies, Diver and Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules, and then Diver and Wimpy Kid, Dog Days. Because the Diver and Wimpy Kid series, that was pretty much my childhood. I love reading every single one of those books. I still collect those books to this day. I think the last book I bought was Diver and Wimpy Kid. I think Hard Luck, I don't know. I know I bought every single one of the books, and I would just rent them out from the library. And they're just fun. And seeing them go into the big screen, they actually did a pretty good job being faithful to the movie, or faithful to the source materials of the book. It was pretty good. And it was just like, it was fun to watch. And it was like, it didn't take itself seriously. And it was just like, it's pretty much you were watching shot for shot what you were seeing in the book on screen. It was awesome. And they pretty much, the actors they got to play the Greg Heffley, his family, and Rowley, they look generally, you can pretty much side by side with all the characters in the book. They really looked like their counterparts, and it was really good. And they took 3 of the best-selling books, the first book, then the Roderick Rules, the second book in the series, and then the 4th book in the series, Dog Days, and they made them into 3 really good movies, and Dog Days should have been it. But we'll get to that when that's in the freaking 4th movies in the F tier. But that's why I did first 3 Diver and Wimpy Kid movies are in the B tier. Another movie I want to throw into the B tier is just the young adult novels, specifically the Twilight series, the Twilight film series, and then the Hunger Games, because and the Divergent and everything. Because with all of them, and Maze Runner too. Don't forget about Maze Runner. With all the young adult movies, is that they follow a simple formula. Once you've seen one, you kind of seen all of them, and it's easy to just crap on them, but give it a chance, I say, because at first you would be like, oh, this is trash, but like I've seen Hunger Games, I saw the first Divergent, I've seen Maze Runner, Scorch Trials, and I've even seen the first Twilight movie. I can say that I've enjoyed all of them. I can't believe I say that even the Twilight all these years later, but the Twilight, it wasn't bad. It's not good, but it's okay. And then Hunger Games I thoroughly enjoyed. And the source materials for all those, Twilight, it's not that bad. Divergent, it's entertaining. Maze Runner is actually really good. I got that from my friend Wesley back in high school. He lent me it, and I read it, and I was like, oh wow, this is actually really good. And Hunger Games, it's entertaining. That's a good read itself. So I can just put all the young adult novels into that subgenre, that whole subgenre in the B tier, because usually those are sometimes the first one of the movies in the series, in that film series or book series, you're going to enjoy at least one. You're going to enjoy at least one of those films, and the other ones you just won't care about. But at least you can say, yeah, one of these I enjoyed. And I guess the last book I want to, or like last film based on the book, I keep saying books. The last book I want to put into the B tier that was like okay, that paid respect to the book, would have to be Ready Player One. That was the intro for the subject, the transition. Ready Player One kind of got mixed reviews when it came out in 2018. It was directed by Spielberg, and it was based on the book of the same name about this kid who went into this world. They have this video game that they go into. It's kind of like an escape. It's called The Oasis, and I'll tell you what, the movie has amazing visuals. The visuals in the movie are outstanding, but everything else you really don't care about because you just want to be in the Oasis, like the real world stuff. The real world stuff, you're just like, I don't really care. I just want to go back into the Oasis. But like when I read the book, and I'm just like, the book is really better. That's like one of the only times you can. Well, that's part of the times you can say that the book did a lot of stuff better than the movie. And I can just say Spielberg may have dropped the ball on this one with with Ready Player One. But the writer of Ready Player One said he's writing a sequel, so maybe we'll get a sequel for Ready Player One. I don't know if people want to. People seem to like this movie, so maybe it will. It didn't make a lot of money, so maybe it'll get a sequel. Who never knows? So now we're gonna move on to the F tier. F tier is just absolute trash. The book can go either way, but the movie is just pure trash. I mentioned Diver Wimpy Kid before. Me and a lot of rational other people like to just think that it ended with 1, 2, and 3, but nope, they decided in 2018, we're going to make a 4th film. And it was The Long Haul, and they recasted everybody because, of course, everyone, especially the main kids who played Greg Heffley and a lot of like Roderick and Rowley, they were older. You can't cast them. They were in college by now. And it was just a disaster. I reviewed it. That was like one of my first reviews in like the summer of 2018, and I hated it. And if you're a fan of Diver Wimpy Kid, like the original 3 films, this film is terrible. And like The Long Haul, it's a good book because I've read every single Diver Wimpy Kid book, but like The Long Haul is a really, really bad movie, and like it's really bad. And I don't know who would like that film. It's like it's a family movie, but I don't think anyone really cared. It's just fart and poop jokes. That's all it is, and it's just wacky hijinks that try. It feels like a soulless cash grab movie trying to bank on the name recognition. Like, hey, you people like Diver Wimpy Kid, right? Look, we're making another movie. It's going to be a reboot film, and it doesn't work. So that belongs in the F tier. Another film series. This is all 3 films. Not even a series, a trilogy. This film trilogy that's going into the F tier is the 50 Shades of Grey film. Yeah, I hate the 50 Shades of Grey film. It's infamous because these films are terrible. Starting from 2015 and ending in 2018, we were bombarded with just absolute, just manure, horse manure of just. This. I'm not kidding when I'm saying that the writer of the books, she wrote this on her BlackBerry. Or I forgot what app it was, but I think she wrote this on her BlackBerry. This is Twilight fan fiction. There's a reason why Twilight's in the B tier and 50 Shades of Grey is in the F tier. 50 Shades of Grey is 50 Shades of crap. It's terrible. It's like, I don't know. You really don't, in the movie, it's like, it's like, imagine rated R in the selling point. You want selling point to be the sex, and the sex is absolutely boring. That's what 50 Shades of Grey is. And I can say out of all 3 movies, the third one's probably the most entertaining because it just turns into an absolute action thriller movie near the last 30 minutes. But like the build up for like the last 3 movies, watching these 2 characters you don't care about, who have the absolute worst chemistry, the most toxic relationship you can possibly imagine. It's just terrible, and you wonder like, who's this movie for? So 50 Shades of Grey, the trilogy, it belonged to be the F tier, and I'm never reading the books in my life, and I don't want to. But I know people said that, yeah, this is BS. This is not bad. Another one that belongs to the F tier is The Snowman. This Snowman was released 3 years ago, and it starred Michael Fassbender. And I know this one had problems because this was originally supposed to be directed by Martin Scorsese, but he took an executive producer role. And it's funny, they filmed it and they forgot to shoot about 10 to 15% of the movie. So then to cover that up, they just tried to edit it. That failed miserably. So they got a jumbled mess of trash. And The Snowman is really bad. It is very bad. This is Michael Fassbender. I would say this is his worst role. Second worst would be Assassin's Creed, definitely. But this takes the case. This was Val Kilmer's return. He even had a role in this, and it was surprising to see him in a movie all these years. I know he's dealing with, I think he has a form of, I think he has some form of cancer, and it was just rare to see him in a movie. But his lines are dubbed, and I know people, fans of the book, was just like, what the hell is this? This is just BS. And The Snowman was like, it was panned critically, and people said critics did not like this movie. This came out like 3 years ago in 2017, and I know that nobody liked this film at all. And I think one more movie I guess we can put in the F tier, and it might be a controversial one, maybe. It would have to be the lesser, I wouldn't say it's controversial actually, maybe it's kind of like the bad, I didn't want to put any like comic book movies on there, but I guess we can say the bad adaptations of comic book movies. So like the Electras, the Daredevils, the Catwomans, the four Fantastic Four movies, the Captain America of the 90s, the Howard the Ducks. Because, I wouldn't say, people would be like, well, comic book movies aren't books. Well, they're graphic novels, and that can be a form of books. That's a form of literature. But I guess you can say that we can make an exception. It's my podcast. We can do whatever you want. So, yeah, we'll put the bad comic book adaptations of Catwoman, Elektra, the Captain America movie in the 90s, the four Fantastic Four movies we've had, Daredevil, Elektra, and Howard the Duck. We'll put all those in there to wrap this list up. So, I'm curious, what movies based on books do you like? What would you have put in the S tier? What would you put in the B tier? And what would you put in the F tier? Tell me down in the comments below. So, without further ado, let's just get into the questions, shall we?
He's like many of us, mired in the routine of upward mobility, but all that is about to change. With an unexpected trip to a place called Cleveland. A romance with a girl named Beverly.
He's my boyfriend!
And an adventure beyond the imagination of the average duck.
The duck's a lunatic!
George Lucas presents Howard the Duck, a Willard Hike film, a Gloria Katz production. Rated PG. Now at select theaters. Check newspapers.
So, before we get into the questions, I kind of wanted to introduce a new segment to the show, kind of like a content creator spotlight. So, what it is kind of like different content creators, whether they be on Instagram, YouTube, or Twitter, or Facebook. Kind of I've been watching, and I deserve a nice little shout out on here. You should probably, if you like film, TV, or entertainment, or just general laughs, you should probably go check them out. So, I want to give some shout outs. First of all, I want to give a shout out to my co-host, my fellow co-host, former co-host, Jay Rid Cinema. He's starting his YouTube channel back up. Link will be in the description below. Former guest on here last podcast, Miss Filmingo, aka Christian Celeberto. She might be back on here soon. Flicks Talk, he's a good. If you like reviews, he also has a YouTube channel. You should go check him out. He also does review on Instagram. Link in the description below. Also, a YouTuber that I've been checking out recently. He's actually really funny, actually, that I've been watching. His name is Prim's Hood Cinema. He does like reviews of Hood movies, and they're the funniest things I've ever watched. You give him a watch. And last person I want to shout out is, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it, NPax. NPax is he does animated YouTube videos, and he does kind of like quick summary versions of movies and TV shows, and they're hilarious. So give all those people just give them a view. You won't regret it, and all of their links will be in the description below. So let's get into the questions. Like I said, if you have a question for me, leave them down in the comments below. First start off with the word question, or if you see me on Instagram or follow me on Instagram, if you see I post something on my story that says question for the podcast, you can always respond to that. So first question comes from Patty Mig. He asks, what are you missing the most now during lockdown? Well, freaking obviously the movie theaters. I want to go back so badly. The last movie I saw in the theaters was The Invisible Man back in February. That was like 3 months ago, and it feels like a lifetime ago. And now that they're saying movie theaters are free to are starting to reopen slowly again, and I'm gonna be looking for the first opportunity to go. Probably let the first wave go in, and I'll go soon, and then maybe I'll try to go to the drive-ins this summer. But I'm missing the movie theaters a lot. Definitely, that's definitely what I'm missing. Then T Bruno 87, he asked if you can have any movie get a remake with any actors, what would it be? No restrictions. That's interesting because I've always thought about that. Like I've always thought about movies about like remakes, because usually remakes and stuff that they don't really do a good job about like having the best reputation. There's only a few of them that have good things about reputation. So like few remakes that have good reputation. So this may sound a little bit weird. I wouldn't mind them remaking Mars Attacks. And here's what we would do. I want there to be a Mars Attacks, but make it even crazier. I want them. Tim Burton can come back, but we get Johnny Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, Toni Collette, but like the president, make him Mel Gibson, and just like let's just see where it goes. Okay, please, let's just let me have this. It sounds weird, but like I would just love to see it, or But one movie I know we shouldn't touch is American Psycho. That and Back to the Future. So don't touch those movies. Let me see. There's one more question too from our old pal SJock1103. He asks, "Who is my favorite actor?" That is a question that I've been asked a lot, and it's hard to say because it's like if that's asking me like who is my favorite puppy or my favorite cat. It's like there's no definitive answer, but I used to say maybe like a Brad Pitt or like a Chris Evans, Edward Norton. But as I've gotten older, I can definitely say it's Robert De Niro. I'm a big fan of Raging Bull, Taxi Driver, all of like I just love Robert De Niro. Niro, definitely my favorite actor of all time. So yeah, he's my favorite actor. Actress, that's another story. I would have to say it's maybe Charlize Theron, my favorite actress too. But actor, it's De Niro all the way. So that's going to do it for this week's podcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in. This may be a shorter one. Well, it's just me now. So, So tune in next episode where we might do a Scooby-Doo retrospective, and I might have a returning special guest. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, I will see you all when I see you all. Peace.